Dark clouds loomed over the small town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia. The wind howled through the skeletal trees, carrying with it an eerie silence. It was the calm before something terrifying, something beyond human understanding. In the free dead of night, Roger and Linda Scarberry, along with their friends, were speeding down the old, deserted road near the TNT area, an abandoned World War II munitions site. The car's headlights barely pierced through the thick fog that clung to the ground like an unnatural force. Then, they saw it. Two glowing red eyes, like burning embers, staring at them from the darkness. Before they could react, a towering figure, at least 7 feet tall, unfurled its enormous bat-like wings and let out a sound that sent chills crawling down their spines. A piercing, inhuman screech echoed through the night, a noise unlike anything they had ever heard before. Linda gasped. "It's following us. It's right behind us." As Roger slammed his foot on the gas pedal, the creature lifted off the ground, keeping up with the car, its massive wings barely moving. This was only the beginning of a nightmare that would haunt Point Pleasant forever. Word spread like wildfire. The Mothman, as the townspeople started calling it, wasn't just a fleeting hallucination. Dozens of people reported seeing the same creature, its piercing red eyes watching them from the shadows. Some claimed to hear a low humming noise outside their homes, only to step out and find nothing, except an overwhelming sense of dread. Mary Millette, a local resident, woke up in the middle of the night to the sound of scraping metal. As she peered out of her window, she saw it, perched on her barn's rooftop. Its wings spread wide, its red eyes burning into her soul. She tried to scream, but her voice caught in her throat. The creature tilted its head, as if acknowledging her fear, before vanishing into the night. That was the last night she stayed in that house. Strange phone calls followed, filled with distorted voices and static whispers, warning some of the witnesses to forget what they saw. Even John Keel, a journalist investigating the events, started receiving cryptic messages. Someone, or something, was watching him too. Then, the prophecies began. Residents started experiencing visions of an impending disaster, a tragedy that would engulf their town in sorrow. And then, the Silver Bridge collapsed. December 15th, 1967, Rush Hour. The Silver Bridge, connecting Point Pleasant to Ohio, was packed with vehicles when suddenly, a loud snap echoed through the air. Eyewitnesses described a horrific chain reaction. The suspension cables twisted, snapped, and within seconds, the entire bridge collapsed into the freezing Ohio River. Lives were lost. In the aftermath, people recalled a chilling detail. The Mothman had been seen perched on the bridge just days before. Had it been a warning? Had it come to foretell the disaster, or had it caused it? And then, just as suddenly as it appeared, the Mothman vanished. No more sightings. No more red eyes in the dark. It was as if it had fulfilled its purpose. But to this day, people still wonder. Was the Mothman an omen of doom? Or was it something much, much worse? And if it ever returns, what catastrophe will follow? The camera slowly pans over the remnants of the Silver Bridge, now long rebuilt, as the wind howls through the skeletal trees. Then, a pair of red eyes flash in the distance. A whisper echoes through the static. It will return. A body washed up on the sands of Somerton Beach. No signs of struggle, no apparent cause of death. A man, impeccably dressed, yet a ghost with no past. A single clue. A cryptic scrap of paper with two haunting words. Tamam Shud. But what did it mean? Who was he? And why does this case remain one of history's most terrifying unsolved mysteries? December 1st, 1948. Somerton Beach, Australia. The early morning silence was broken by a chilling discovery. A man, slumped against a seawall, his head slightly tilted, eyes shut as if peacefully sleeping. But he would never wake up. His body was in pristine condition, his suit neatly pressed, polished shoes unstained by the sand beneath him. There was no wallet, no identification, not even a label on his clothing. It was as if someone had carefully erased every trace of his existence. The autopsy revealed an unsettling truth. There were no visible wounds, no signs of poison, and his internal organs were in a state of decay unlike anything doctors had seen. It was as if his body had been shut down by an unknown force. The only clue: a hidden pocket in his trousers containing a tiny, torn piece of paper with two cryptic words, Tamam Shud. Translated, it meant the end. But this was only the beginning of the mystery. Investigators traced the words to an extremely rare book, the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. But when they found the exact copy that matched the missing page, their blood ran cold. The book had been mysteriously left in a stranger's car, and inside a series of bizarre handwritten codes. Was this a message? A warning? Or the last desperate words of a man running from something far worse than death? As police dug deeper, more anomalies surfaced. A suitcase linked to the man was found at a railway station, its labels torn off, its contents strange, a stenciling brush, a spool of orange thread that matched his suit's stitching, and yet no real identity. The case grew darker when whispers of espionage emerged. Was he a spy? A man who knew too much? Or something far more sinister? Then, another chilling discovery: a woman's phone number inside the book. The police traced it to a nurse, who, upon seeing the man's face, went pale. She refused to speak. Why was she so afraid? What did she know? And why did she take her secret to the grave? To this day, no one knows who the Somerton man was. His fingerprints matched no records. His past was wiped clean, and the cryptic note, Tamam Shud, was the only clue left behind. Some say he was an assassin, silenced before revealing secrets. Others whisper of a supernatural force at play, a man erased by something beyond our understanding. One thing is certain: the truth is buried with him, and the darkness of this mystery continues to haunt us. Even after decades, the case remains unsolved. The Somerton man lies in an unmarked grave, his identity lost to time. Who was he? Why was he there? And what was he running from? Perhaps the answers are still out there, waiting to be uncovered. But beware. Some mysteries are best left untouched. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoy exploring the darkest unsolved mysteries, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more chilling stories. Until next time, sleep well if you can. A blanket of silence covered the desolate road leading into the Plumas National Forest. The night of February 24, 1978 was bitterly cold, and the eerie glow of the moon cast long shadows over the trees. 5 young men, close friends bonded by their shared struggles with mild intellectual disabilities, had just left a basketball game in Chico, California. They were supposed to return home that night, but they never did. Days later, their car was found abandoned on a remote mountain road far from their intended route. There was no sign of them, only questions. What led them deep into the wilderness? And why did they vanish without a trace? As search teams combed the area, disturbing clues emerged. The unlocked Mercury Montego sat eerily still, its tires intact, with enough gas to continue the journey. Inside, maps lay untouched in the glove compartment, and food wrappers hinted at a recent meal. Yet, the most perplexing discovery: the keys were missing, and so were the 5 men. The surrounding forest was treacherous, covered in thick layers of snow and ice. The temperature dropped below freezing at night, too cold for anyone to survive long without shelter. Authorities and family members were baffled. These men were not known to be reckless. They had a game of their own to play the following day, an event they had eagerly anticipated. Why would they abandon their vehicle and wander into the merciless wilderness? Weeks passed, then months, and the snow slowly began to thaw. In June, a gruesome discovery sent chills through the investigators. Nearly 20 miles from where the car had been found, an old forestry trailer stood hidden in the dense woods. Inside, the partially mummified body of one of the missing men, Ted Wire, was found wrapped in sheets. He had seemingly survived for weeks, despite the harsh elements. But what was most unsettling? There was food inside, canned goods and supplies that could have kept him alive much longer. Yet, they remained mostly untouched. His frostbitten feet suggested he had tried and failed to escape the cold. Who or what had kept him inside that trailer? Nearby, the skeletal remains of 2 more victims were discovered, scattered as if they had been fleeing from something unseen. Their clothes were torn, and their bodies lay under a thick canopy of trees. The last 2 men were never fully found, only fragments of bones left behind, as if something had been lurking in the woods, watching them, waiting. What happened that night remains one of the most terrifying and unexplained disappearances in history. Some believe they were chased by something, an unknown presence that stalked them through the forest. Others suspect foul play, a sinister force that lured them into the cold abyss, or maybe, just maybe, something unnatural called to them from the depths of the wilderness, something beyond human comprehension. To this day, their story remains an unsolved nightmare, a chilling reminder that sometimes the greatest horrors are not found in stories, but in real life. For decades, mysterious messages have appeared on streets across the world. Embedded into the asphalt, these cryptic Toynbee tiles have puzzled pedestrians and researchers alike. No one knows exactly who placed them, or why. The chilling messages mention resurrecting the dead on planet Jupiter. The strangest part? No one has ever seen someone placing them. But what if I told you that these tiles aren't just cryptic messages? What if they were warnings? The Toynbee tiles first appeared in the early 1980s, small, rectangular messages embedded into the streets of Philadelphia. At first glance, they seemed nothing more than vandalism, but the words etched into the tiles sent shivers down the spines of those who read them. Toynbee idea in movie 2001, resurrect dead on planet Jupiter. The tiles soon spread across dozens of cities, from the United States to South America. The unknown artist or group left them embedded in pavement, often in high-traffic areas. Some believed the message referred to British historian Arnold Toynbee, while others linked it to Stanley Kubrick's sci-fi film 2001, A Space Odyssey. But the deeper investigators dug, the stranger the story became. The Vanishing Witnesses. In the mid-1990s, a journalist named Steve Wynick became obsessed with uncovering the truth behind these mysterious tiles. He spent years following leads, speaking to experts, and tracking down anonymous tipsters. What he found defied logic. Several people had reported seeing a thin, ghostly man in a long coat lurking near intersections late at night. Some claimed to have witnessed him bending down as if pressing something into the asphalt, but before anyone could confront him, he'd vanished. And then, something even stranger happened. A handful of people who had spoken publicly about the tiles claimed they were being watched. Their phones clicked with strange interference. Their homes received silent phone calls at odd hours. One man, an independent researcher, disappeared entirely. No trace of him was ever found. His notes on the tiles? Gone. As the years passed, the tiles continued to appear. Even after the supposed creator, a recluse named Severino Verna, was suspected of being involved, The mystery remained unsolved. Who was truly behind them? One theory suggested that the tiles weren't warnings, but invitations. That the person, or people, placing them were part of something far bigger than a lone artist with an obsession. That perhaps they weren't alone. And then came the most disturbing part. A new tile surfaced in 2022. But this one was different. It didn't mention Jupiter. It didn't reference Toynbee. Instead, the chilling message read, "They are here. We are next." No one knows what it means. But if history tells us anything, it's this. The tiles will keep appearing, and whoever or whatever is behind them isn't done yet.